I now call Colum Eastwood.
Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, it was the playwright Sean O'Casey who said that poverty is a disease that gets into the bones. Therefore, I think it's essential that we take our responsibility seriously in tackling poverty when it begins. That is in children. And I think we've heard a lot here today about how serious child poverty is in this part of the world, and I think we all know the figures. Joseph Rowntree Foundation says 120,000 young people in Northern Ireland are living in child poverty. 46% of the children in West Belfast are living in child poverty, 36% in my own constituency of Foyle. And I just don't think it's good enough, Mr Deputy Speaker, for us to do a Pontius Pilate, for us not to take responsibility for issues within our own constituencies. We all have a responsibility to eradicate child poverty. It's not just the Tories. It's not just Westminster. And in fact, if you're so concerned about Tory cuts, I think people should go to Westminster and vote against Tory cuts where they're being implemented in Westminster. I'll gladly give way.
I remember kind of trying to give the House some assurance or some understanding at least that his party went to Westminster. In fact, they fought the last Westminster election campaign on the basis that they needed to be there to stop the cuts. Well, they haven't stopped a single penny of the cuts. So maybe, if I had an hour, many other MPs would you need another 100 perhaps? There are only 18 here in total. We have 5. So the 5 would not have made any difference. Your party certainly made no difference.
Well, it's interesting to note that is the new philosophy for Sinn Féin democracy, that we just don't bother going because it won't make a damn bit of difference. It won't matter. We all went through the.
Order. Could I ask all members to have respect for the House? We have one member speaking at a time. Mr Eastwood.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. We all went through the lobbies this morning to vote on something where we knew the outcome, because the DUP had put down a petition of concern, but we all did it anyway. I think it's essential, no matter if we're concerned about something that's happening to the young people in this part of the world, that we go wherever we have to go to try and stop it, and the SDLP will do that regardless. I'm very happy to kick the Tories, very happy to talk about welfare reform. We know the difficulties because of the Tory cuts and because of the welfare reforms proposed by the Tories. But we have to take responsibility for ourselves here. We go around telling people how great devolution is, how important it is that we're all involved, how important it is that we're all involved in the political process here, and we need to support the stability of these institutions. If that's the case, we need to take responsibility. And I do accept that every member of this House is committed to getting rid of child poverty. The fact is, we have failed. We fail the children who need us most, and that is an indictment in this place. And I think this is not about political point scoring. This is about trying to make sure that we succeed in future. The Executive's own report on the progress for the last programme for government says all these things are still left in red. To meet the target to halve child poverty by 2010, not done. To work towards ending severe child poverty by 2012, don't think that's done either. To meet the target for reduction of 15% rate of suicide, to reduce by 50% the life expectancy differential between the most disadvantaged areas and the Northern Ireland average, to increase the attainment levels in primary schools, with the majority of pupils from a neighbourhood renewal area to within 5% of the Northern Ireland average. Mr Deputy Speaker, the fact is, we didn't do those things. We haven't succeeded in getting rid of child poverty. We put an amendment down, and unfortunately it wasn't taken. We were asking that this part of the world, that Northern Ireland, take responsibility for our own issues, and that we said that there should be individual targets for Northern Ireland, so that we can ensure that we can work towards dealing with the problems that exist in this jurisdiction. Unfortunately, it wasn't accepted, but I will say that the SDLP will support the motion as put down. We would also be happy to support Mr McNary's amendment. The fact is, it is time now for this Assembly to take responsibility, because far too many of our young people are leaving, getting the plane to Australia. The rest, thousands of others are on the dole queues, and I know in my own constituency and other constituencies around the north that is even more acute. We just can't any longer blame the Tories. We have to now take responsibility for the things that are within our remit, and it's important now that every single member of this House redouble our efforts to eradicating child poverty, because we're not going to meet the target set down. And by the way, we wouldn't have met them anyway, even before welfare reform was introduced, even before the Tories came into power, because we were nowhere near the target at that stage. So we need to take responsibility for where we're at, and I don't think we're anywhere near where we need to be. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.
I call